Tonight, Canadians come together with a rallying cry of "Leave our kids alone," and an unexpected truce deal in the recent conflict between Armenian and Azerbaijan forces. We cover stories about Islamophobic content on X platform and demands for accountability, a lawsuit against FBI for its secret no-fly list, and a report on how rare police desertification is. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Aishah Ashraf. Canadians from different races and religions have come together to protest against the LGBTQ+ curriculum in Canadian schools. The protest, known as Canada's 1 Million Person March, has a rallying cry: "Leave our kids alone." Parents opposing gender-inclusive education are voicing concerns about what their children are learning in schools. They are emphasizing the importance of allowing children to be kids without exposing them to explicit content. During the rally, some parental rights protesters marched with signs advocating for family involvement in child rearing and opposing early sex education. On the other hand, supporters of LGBTQ inclusive education say the school's responsibility is to promote equity, inclusion, and human rights. And in related news, a recent survey indicates growing divides in public perceptions of gender identity and transgender issues in Canada. The study conducted by Angus Reid Institute in July is based on responses from 3,016 Canadian adults. The results reveal Canadians are torn between varying views on gender definitions. A majority, 56%, still uphold the binary concept of gender, with men more likely to endorse this view. 34% of Canadians find this binary definition too limited, with the highest percentage among those who don't identify as male or female. The survey also reveals divisions on defining a woman. 35% say that anyone who identifies as a woman qualifies, while 34% insist on a female anatomical birth. When it comes to transgender rights, 71% believe that transgender people face significant discrimination. 60% feel that the media overemphasizes the issue. In a surprise move, separatist Armenian forces in NagornoKarabakh have accepted the terms of a ceasefire proposed by Russian peacekeepers. This development comes after a series of battlefield losses at the hands of Azerbaijani forces. 32 Armenians have died, with hundreds injured within 24 hours. However, the prospect of a lasting peace remains uncertain. Nagorno-Karabakh is recognized internationally as part of Azerbaijan, but it is predominantly inhabited by ethnic Armenians. The region has been a historical flashpoint. Azerbaijan launched what it calls its anti-terrorist operation after alleging that its troops were attacked by armed separatists sympathetic to Armenia. The ceasefire involves Armenian forces surrendering and disarming, with their weapons and equipment handed over to Azerbaijan. This aligns with Baku's demand that separatist political authorities in Karabakh disband before any talks on the region's future. The ceasefire will be coordinated with Russian peacekeepers. Russian President Vladimir Putin is emphasizing the importance of protecting civilians and pursuing a peaceful resolution. Armenia's Prime Minister, Nikol Pashinyan, in a televised address, has stressed that Armenia has not had troops in Karabakh since 2021. The international response has been mixed, with Russia actively involved in mediation efforts. The conflict's origins trace back decades, rooted in historical tensions between Christian Armenians and Muslim Azeris. Large-scale hostilities flared in the 1990s and resurged in 2020, resulting in a Russian broken truce and territorial concessions by Armenia. However, the Nagorno-Karabakh region still remains a contentious issue. Authorities in Queensland are seeking to hold X, formerly known as Twitter, responsible for Islamophobic tweets by an American white supremacist. The Australian Muslim Advocacy Network, or AMAN, has filed a complaint with the Queensland Human Rights Commission. The group cites harm caused to local Muslims due to the hateful tweets. The debate in the Queensland Civil and Administrative Tribunal revolves around whether Queensland has legal jurisdiction over this matter. Amman's counsel argues that limiting the Anti-Discrimination Act to physical conduct within Queensland would defeat the purpose of protecting Queenslanders from harmful communication. He points out that the tweets were downloaded in Queensland and harmed local Muslims, providing grounds for jurisdiction. On the other hand, X's lawyer says that the complaint is misconceived, as X is a foreign entity with no responsibility for the tweets under Queensland legislation. He argues that X Corporation cannot be expected to monitor content uploaded worldwide. He says granting jurisdiction in this case could have significant international consequences. Twitter had previously attempted to dismiss Amman's complaint but was unsuccessful. Amman originally sought an apology from Twitter for the offensive content and incitement to hatred under the Anti-Discrimination Act. Twitter had refused to delete the account and its offensive replies, leading to the ongoing legal dispute. The hearing is ongoing. For more on complaints against Canadian company for human rights violations in Myanmar, stay tuned. The New Jersey chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations is suing the FBI, seeking an end to the secretive government no-fly list. At a press conference in Newark, New Jersey, the chapter's communications manager expressed concern that innocent individuals can remain on the watch list without proper recourse. She highlighted that despite Muslims' efforts to integrate into American society, they still face challenges and are denied due process. Earlier this year, a Swiss hacker gained access to the 2019 no-fly list, containing around 1.5 million entries. The council argues that the list disproportionately targets Muslims and Arabs. It says it raises concerns about profiling and the lack of evidence required for inclusion. Muslims have long opposed the no-fly list for its impact on travel freedoms without due process. In 2020, the US Supreme Court ruled that Muslim Americans placed on the list for refusing to spy on their communities can sue individual FBI agents for monetary compensation and damages. One such plaintiff won his case. Mayor Muhammad Khairullah of Prospect, New Jersey, has shared his experience of being barred from a White House Eid celebration due to his presence on the no-fly list. He's calling for federal agencies to eliminate the list, create a system with checks and balances, and end profiling and secret lists. The executive director of the New Jersey chapter has shared stories of individuals detained or questioned at airports due to their inclusion on the no-fly list. He says these individuals are subject to profiling and illegal government actions due to their presence on this lengthy list. Two advocacy groups have filed a complaint with the National Contact Points of Canada and the United Kingdom, alleging that a Canadian company is engaging in corruption and contributing to human rights abuses in Myanmar. The complaint is filed by Earth Rights International and a Myanmar civil society organization. These groups allege the company MTI Energy is violating OECD guidelines. These guidelines serve as a global standard for multinational corporations, covering human rights, anti-corporation, and environmental practices. MTI Energy is registered in Canada, but purchases through a Bermuda subsidiary. It is set to become the largest shareholder in Myanmar's Yadana gas project. The project generates substantial revenue for Myanmar's military junta. This involvement could potentially lead to human rights violations. The complaint calls on MTI Energy to comply with OECD guidelines, particularly in diverting gas revenues away from the junta to prevent complicity in human rights abuses. It also highlights the need for governments like Canada and the UK to impose sanctions on Myanmar oil and gas enterprise to block funding to the junta. A recent investigation shows that 54 officers have been involved in 14 high-profile killings in the past 9 years in the US. Out of these, only 10 had their certifications or licenses revoked as a disciplinary action. These killings have led to Black Lives Matter protests. The report by The Intercept covers the period from 2014 to January of the current year. It highlights the rarity of police officers losing their certification, even in cases of horrific misconduct. The investigation shows the challenges of holding officers accountable through decertification. In theory, officer decertification is easier than securing criminal convictions. In many states, a criminal conviction is a prerequisite for decertification. The requirement makes it a significant barrier given the infrequent prosecution of police officers, even in high-profile cases. Additionally, the process of decertification varies significantly from state to state. Typically, local police departments initiate the process, which is often overseen by a state board that includes law enforcement administrators and civilian appointees. This decentralization of the process makes it challenging to conduct a comprehensive national analysis. The report also sheds light on the issue of officers who are decertified in one state being rehired in another due to a lack of uniformity in reporting mechanisms. The existence of wandering officers highlights the need for standardized criteria for decertification. Some progress has been made, such as the creation of decertification processes in some states prompted by the Black Lives Matter protests. However, the analysis reveals that decertification remains an underutilized accountability mechanism. Experts suggest exploring creative solutions, such as centralizing the reporting of decertified officers, as well as involving non-police entities in the decertification process. Thank you for watching. Our news is produced by Sound Vision, which is a not-for-profit organization. We need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, so we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad.